speaker is a graduate of the University of Connecticut. He joined Tempe Toastmasters in 1976. He received his DTN in 1981. He's also a real estate broker and has been since 1977. He enjoys fitness, reading, hiking, slot canyons, and Lisa Jones. Woo! Please help me welcome Paul Pastore. The title of the speech is Time of Your Life.
Who'd like to hear a story? Once upon a time, there was a salesman driving through the country, and he stopped his car because he saw a farmer in a field climbing a walnut tree, picking an individual walnut, and then climbing down, opening it so his pig could eat it. And the farmer did that time and time again. Finally, the salesman went up to him and he said, "Do you mind if I ask you a question?" The farmer said, "By all means." He said, "Just out of curiosity, why don't you vigorously shake the tree? A number of walnuts will come down. You can then feed your pig, save a lot of time." The farmer thought, "But what's time to a pig?" Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. Hopefully, no one will ever look at you and think, "What's time to a pig?" This morning, I'd like to share with you a few tips, techniques, and tricks from the topic of time management, so your time can be more precious. Because your time is your life. And if you waste your time, you're going to waste your life. Where does the material come from? A book that I read decades ago that I love. How to Get Control of Your Time and Life by Alan Lakein. Has anyone read that book? In that book, he asks 3 questions. And he suggests that you ask yourself these questions, but only take 2 minutes for each answer. We don't have the time to do that today, but I'd like you to think about those answers. Question number 1, similar to Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind. What do you want people to say at your funeral? Now, I've mentioned before, I know what I want people to say at my funeral. When they look in the casket, I want somebody to say, "Look, he's moving." But if Lisa were to pass away before me, I already know what I would say at her funeral, because I plan to speak there. I would say she is the kindest, most compassionate, generous person I've ever met. If you're familiar with the Bible, she would be a Proverbs 31 woman. What do you want people to say at your funeral? Question number 2. Where do you plan on being? Where would you like to be in 5 years? And question number 3, if you knew you were going to pass away in 6 months, what would you spend those 6 months doing? Would you spend time with your family? Would you spend time with your kids or your grandkids? By answering those 3 questions, you can get a North Star in your life. Tip number 2 started in 1913 when a management consultant went up to Andrew Carnegie, who had United States Steel. He was to examine United States Steel and report back to Andrew Carnegie. His idea was every day to take a 3x5 card and to list the top 5 things Andrew Carnegie wanted to do that day and put them in order of priority from 1 to 5. Start with number 1 and don't go to number 2 until you finish number 1. Andrew Carnegie said, what do I owe you for that idea? He said, try it for 30 days and then send me a check. 30 days later, Andrew Carnegie sent Ivy League a check for $25,000. Today, that would be like receiving approximately $1 million. What is your time worth? Recently, someone called me and said, would you like to participate in a medical study? I said, what's it going to involve? They said, over 6 months, once a month you have to go, get some blood drawn, it'll take between an hour and an hour and a half. I said, what's in it for me? They said, $25 every time you go. My time is worth $200 an hour. So it would have cost me $300 each time I went. They wanted to give me $25. I declined the study. At the summer party, I talked to a real estate agent in this room. I'm not going to mention her name, but it sounds a lot like chlorine. And Chlorine said that she was very busy. I said to Chlorine, who enters your listings in MLS? She said, well, I do. I said, you can't do that. You can pay someone $15 an hour to do that. In sales, as a lot of you know, your job is to be belly to belly with as many people as possible if you really want to be successful. You can't be entering items in MLS by yourself. Tip number 3, stop or eliminate multitasking. When I go to the gym, I leave my phone in the car. When I go to church, I leave my phone in the car. And when I come to Toastmasters, unless I'm speaking and taping the speech, I leave my phone in the car. Every time I go to the gym, there are millennials sitting on those machines, and older people, texting. I feel like going up to them and saying, would you like to be in better shape? Take the phone and put it in the car. One of the great gifts I gave myself was when my kids were in elementary school, I coached their teams. Years later, my daughter said, yeah, Dad, you used to coach the teams, but I could always see you on the phone. Are you going to your kids' lacrosse games, soccer games, birthdays, piano concerts? Leave the phone in the car. Kids, see that phone. Stop multitasking. And don't ever have someone look at you and think, it's time to be. Oh, Mr. Toastmaster.